In India's tech sector, a quiet but unprecedented revolution is emerging. According to senior sources in New Delhi, cited by the Economic Times and Asia Tech Review, the Indian government has given the green light to create a next-generation chip expected to surpass NVIDIA's best solutions in performance. For India, this is not just another ambitious project, it is a strategic pivot, an attempt to break years of dependence on US tech supply chains, and, for the first time in the country's history, join the club of those who do not merely buy computing power, but create it. Work is underway simultaneously in several leading centers, including the Bengaluru Tech Hub, the Indian Institute of Science, and a closed research cluster in Hyderabad, recently reported on by Nikkei Asia, where, according to the publication, tests are being conducted on the first prototypes of an architecture capable of competing with NVIDIA Blackwell. Engineers claim the new chip will be faster than current GPU in AI, deep learning, cloud analytics, simulations, and scientific modeling, while requiring less energy thanks to a new system of distributed computing blocks and adaptive cooling. If these forecasts are confirmed, India will, for the first time, be able to claim the role of a key supplier of compute accelerators for Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, gradually pushing both US and Chinese solutions out of these markets. Many analysts call this a potential shift of the energy core in the global digital economy. But nothing in the world happens in isolation, and India's breakthrough has occurred exactly at the moment when the US and China have entered the largest tech confrontation of the 21st century. According to Bloomberg Intelligence, the global chip industry has split into two opposing camps. On one side are US tech giants NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, striving to maintain leadership in building AI infrastructure. On the other side is the rapidly growing Chinese industry, Huawei, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, and SMIC, trying to replace everything Washington restricts. US limits aimed at blocking supplies of advanced GPU and lithography equipment have effectively forced China into a strategy of accelerated localization of all key production elements. Washington banned the export of NVIDIA A100, H100, and H200, and blocked any attempt by US companies to adapt their models to Chinese requirements. China responded by massively funding its own projects, from developing the Ascend and Kunlun architectures to building giant data centers and launching dozens of AI tech parks. And at this moment, while the US and China exhaust each other with sanctions, restrictions, countermeasures, and attempts to destroy or bypass tech chains, India has taken a unique and highly advantageous position, that of a quiet but strategically important observer and simultaneously a participant. The Financial Times writes that for the first time in 40 years, India has found itself in a situation where it is not external pressure pushing it forward, but where the global configuration itself is opening the door for it. The US is looking for new production sites and partners not dependent on China. China, deprived of access to the best US chips, is forced to seek new international markets where restrictions are softer. European companies, facing energy uncertainty and a shortage of investment, increasingly see India as neutral territory for relocating production, research, and data centers. India is using this with surgical precision. New plants have already been laid down in Tamil Nadu and Gujarat. Negotiations are underway with Japanese and European manufacturers of lithography equipment. Chip design subsidy programs are being created, domestic versions of standards are being developed, and, most importantly, an independent ecosystem of research, development, testing, and industrial assembly is taking shape. Bloomberg reports that India intends to create a national semiconductor support program comparable in scale to the US CHIPS Act, but adapted to Indian realities: cheaper labor, an expanding engineering base, a huge domestic market, and the rapid growth of the AI sector. For the first time, India is acting not as an outsourcing contractor or an assembly shop for global corporations, but as a country capable of producing its own compute architectures. India is benefiting not only from the US-China struggle, but also from their weaknesses. The US is too dependent on Taiwan, and TSMC, reliable as it is, remains a vulnerable point of the global economy. China is too dependent on US and Japanese technologies, and sanctions have hit all key areas of its development painfully. In this situation, India appears to be the only major tech economy not under sanctions pressure and not torn by geopolitical contradictions. Reuters reports that over the next 3 years, India plans to create 4 more major semiconductor production facilities, expand the national network of research centers, and form an independent architecture of AI accelerators compatible with global standards, but oriented primarily toward the domestic market. Global corporations have already understood this. Google is negotiating the construction of a large data center based on Indian GPU. Amazon is considering India as an alternative site for assembling Trainium servers. And Microsoft has officially stated that it views India as a potential center of distributed computing. These are not just pretty statements. They are a reaction to changes in the world. For the first time in many years, India has become not just a consumer of technology, but a supplier of infrastructure solutions. Interest in the Indian project is growing not only because of its technological significance, but also because global corporations are beginning to understand the scale of what is happening. Just 5 years ago, India was viewed exclusively as a large consumer market, a country with cheap labor and a powerful outsourcing sector, but without technological sovereignty. Today, the situation has changed radically. Indian companies are beginning to capture key value creation chains, and the state is systematically restructuring industrial policy so the country can compete with the US, China, Japan, and South Korea on equal terms. According to Reuters, in the past 8 months, India has attracted more investment into the semiconductor industry than in the previous 15 years. And this is only the beginning. One of the key factors of this explosive growth is that India has managed to combine 3 elements that rarely exist together in one country: a huge domestic market, a powerful engineering talent pool, and a government determined to completely overhaul the national development strategy. While the US is forced to defend its positions with sanctions and restrictions, and China is spending colossal resources to bypass export controls, India has gained the ability to develop flexibly, freely, and without pressure. This has allowed it to strike deals with several tech blocks at once. US corporations invest in Indian data centers, Japanese companies in equipment, European companies in lithography, and Middle Eastern funds in data storage and cloud computing infrastructure. If the Indian chip really turns out to be capable of competing with NVIDIA, even if not fully, but at least partially, the world will witness the beginning of a new technological era. India will cease to be the background for the struggle between the US and China. It will become an equal participant capable of setting the rules. And what is happening now is not an exaggeration, not ambitions on paper, and not geopolitical daydreams. It is a real fight for a place in the global hierarchy. It is the moment when India has finally received a chance that was never accessible before. The world stands on the threshold of a new technological race, and this time, India intends to enter it not as an observer, but as one of the key players capable of reshaping the formula of global power, in which computing power becomes the main resource of the 21st century.